The sound of my father's laughter echoed through the kitchen as he waved my business bank statement like a victory flag, his face bright with the particular smugness that came from dismissing achievements he didn't understand. The statement showed deposits of over $85,000 for the month, but in Dad's worldview, any money I earned through my digital marketing consultancy was play money that should be redirected toward what he called my real obligations. Samantha, stop playing entrepreneur and focus on your actual responsibilities, Dad said, signing his name with theatrical flourish on a check from my business account. Your mother needs help with the mortgage this month and your brother's tuition is due. I watched him forge my signature on the check, my hands steady as I reached for my phone to discreetly photograph the evidence. The check was for $12,000, supposedly for Mom's mortgage payment, though I'd been quietly paying that mortgage for 8 months while they treated my business income as their personal emergency fund. Dad, that's my business account, I said quietly, maintaining the facade of compliant daughter while documenting another felony. Business account? He laughed again, the sound grating against my nerves. Honey, posting on social media isn't a business. It's a hobby that got out of hand. The sooner you accept that and get a real job, the better off this family will be. My hobby had generated $847,000 in revenue over the past 18 months, serving Fortune 500 clients who paid premium rates for digital marketing strategies that consistently delivered results. But in my family's narrative, I was the 26-year-old dreamer who needed to stop playing with computers and focus on supporting the family members who had real careers and legitimate financial needs. The mortgage payment is $12,000? I asked, knowing the actual payment was $2,800 monthly. $12,000 covers the mortgage, plus some catch-up payments we've been behind on, Dad replied smoothly, his tone suggesting that questioning family financial decisions was both inappropriate and ungrateful. Your mother and I have been carrying this family financially for years. The least you can do is help when we need it. Carrying the family financially. Dad's electrical contracting business had been losing money for 2 years, and Mom's part-time bookkeeping work generated about $1,200 monthly. Meanwhile, my brother Kevin attended an expensive private college where his tuition, room and board cost $65,000 annually, money that came from my play money business account through a sophisticated series of forged checks and unauthorized transfers. I nodded and smiled, playing the role of grateful daughter who was honored to contribute to family success while my father systematically embezzled from my business accounts. The performance had become second nature over the past year as I documented every fraudulent transaction for the federal investigation I'd initiated 3 months ago. Sam, Mom called from the living room, her voice carrying the practiced vulnerability that preceded major financial requests. Can you come here for a minute? I found Mom surrounded by college brochures and financial aid forms, her expression carefully calibrated to suggest overwhelmed maternal sacrifice. Kevin was visiting from college for the weekend, wearing designer clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent while maintaining the fiction that he was a struggling student whose family could barely afford his education. Sweetheart, we need to discuss Kevin's spring semester expenses, Mom began, her tone suggesting that Kevin's education was a family investment rather than a personal choice. The tuition increased again and there are some additional fees for his study abroad program. Kevin's study abroad program. A semester in Italy that would cost an additional $35,000 beyond regular tuition, funded entirely by my business income while my family treated me like the financial burden who should be grateful for opportunities to support Kevin's educational adventures. How much additional? I asked, already knowing the answer from the bank statements I'd been monitoring. $35,000, but it's an incredible opportunity, Kevin interjected, his voice bright with the enthusiasm of someone who had never questioned where money came from. The program includes travel throughout Europe, and the networking opportunities are amazing. Networking opportunities. Kevin was studying art history with no clear career plans, but somehow his European vacation disguised as education was treated as a family investment while my actual business success was dismissed as playing with computers. That's a significant amount, I said carefully. It is, Mom agreed, but education is the one thing we should never compromise on. Your father and I believe in investing in our children's futures, even when it requires sacrifice. Sacrifice. The word that justified every forged check, every unauthorized transfer, every demand for my business income disguised as family obligation. My parents had convinced themselves that stealing from my accounts was sacrifice, because they were directing the money toward Kevin's education rather than their own luxuries. Sam, Dad rejoined the conversation, your mother and I have been discussing this family's financial priorities. Kevin's education comes first, then the household expenses, then any leftover money can go toward your computer hobby. My computer hobby that generated more income than both my parents' jobs combined, but somehow ranked third in family financial priorities behind Kevin's education and household expenses I'd been secretly covering for months. I understand the priorities, I said, pulling out my phone to photograph Kevin's study abroad paperwork while pretending to check messages. The documents would become evidence in the federal fraud case that my family didn't know was building against them. Good, Dad said, reaching for another check from my business checkbook. Kevin needs $15,000 for the program deposit by Friday. I watched him forge my signature again, noting the slight differences from my actual handwriting that would help FBI forensic experts prove the fraud. The check brought the total embezzled amount to approximately $340,000 over the past year, enough to trigger federal criminal charges for bank fraud, identity theft, and organized financial crime. My phone buzzed with a text from Agent Patricia Chin, the FBI financial crimes investigator handling my case. Samantha, ready to proceed with arrests. Surveillance team confirms ongoing fraudulent activity. Are you prepared for tomorrow's operation? Agent Chin. Tomorrow. After months of documentation and investigation, federal agents would arrive to arrest my family for systematic embezzlement from my business accounts. The evidence was overwhelming. Forged checks, unauthorized electronic transfers, falsified business documents, and recorded conversations where they discussed how to access my accounts without my knowledge. Sam, you look stressed, Mom observed with practiced maternal concern. Are you having problems with your little business? My little business that employed 12 people and served clients in 6 states, but somehow warranted less respect than Kevin's art history degree or Dad's failing electrical contracting. Just normal business challenges, I replied, watching Dad add the forged check to a stack of similar documents that would become federal evidence within 24 hours. Well, don't let it consume you, Dad advised with the patronizing tone of someone offering wisdom to a confused child. When this entrepreneur phase runs its course, you'll need to focus on building a real career. Maybe Kevin can help you find opportunities in his field after he graduates. Kevin's field of art history, where entry-level positions paid $30,000 annually, would help me transition from my phase of earning nearly $1 million through digital marketing consultancy. The condescension was breathtaking in its ignorance. That evening I sat in my apartment, the modest one-bedroom space my family believed was all I could afford, and reviewed the evidence files I'd been compiling for Agent Chen's investigation. The documentation was comprehensive and damning. Bank records showed $340,000 in unauthorized withdrawals from my business accounts over 12 months. Digital forensics revealed that Dad had somehow obtained access to my online banking credentials and had been making electronic transfers while forging physical checks. Phone recordings captured conversations where my parents discussed how to maximize their access to my accounts while maintaining my compliance through emotional manipulation. The most disturbing evidence was a recorded conversation between my parents where they discussed my business success and concluded that I was too naive to manage that much money responsibly. They had convinced themselves that stealing from my accounts was actually protecting me from my own poor financial judgment. My phone rang at 11 p.m. Dad's number. Sam, I was reviewing the business account statements, and I'm concerned about your spending patterns. My spending patterns. The man who had forged dozens of checks from my account was concerned about how I managed money. What kind of spending concerns you? Well, you're paying for expensive software subscriptions, high-end computer equipment, professional development courses. It looks like you're getting caught up in the fantasy that this computer thing is a real business. The expensive software, equipment, and courses that enabled me to serve Fortune 500 clients and generate nearly $1 million annually were evidence that I was caught up in fantasy rather than running a legitimate business. Dad, those are business expenses. Sam, real businesses have employees, office buildings, traditional revenue streams. What you have is a hobby that's gotten expensive. Your mother and I are worried that you're going to waste all this money on equipment and courses instead of using it for practical family needs. Practical family needs like Kevin's European vacation and forged checks for non-existent mortgage catch-up payments. I appreciate your concern, I said, ending the call before the conversation could escalate into another lecture about financial responsibility from someone actively committing financial crimes against my business. The next morning I woke up to the sound of my phone ringing. Agent Chen's number. Samantha, the operation is beginning. Federal agents are executing search warrants at your parents' residence and your father's business. Are you in a safe location? I'm at my apartment. Good. Stay there until we've completed the arrests. Your family will likely try to contact you once they realize what's happening. 2 hours later my phone started ringing constantly. Dad's number, Mom's number, Kevin calling from college. I didn't answer any of the calls, but the voicemails told the story of their morning. Dad's first voicemail, recorded at 8:15 a.m. Sam, there are FBI agents at the house with search warrants. They're asking about business bank accounts and forged checks. I don't know what this is about, but we need to talk immediately. Mom's voicemail, 8:30 a.m. Samantha, federal agents are here asking about money from your business accounts. They say someone has been stealing from you. We're scared and confused. Please call us back. Kevin's voicemail, 9:45 a.m. Sam, Mom called crying. She says the FBI arrested Dad for stealing money from your business. This has to be a mistake. Dad would never steal from family. Call me back. The progression from confused innocence to dawning realization was captured in those voicemails. My family was discovering that their systematic embezzlement from my Play Money account was actually federal criminal activity that would destroy their lives. Agent Chen called at noon with updates. Samantha, we've arrested your father on federal charges of bank fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud. Your mother is being questioned as a potential co-conspirator. The evidence is overwhelming. What happens now? Your father will likely plea bargain to avoid a lengthy trial. The restitution amount exceeds $340,000, which means significant prison time and financial penalties. Your mother's involvement will be determined based on her knowledge of the fraudulent activities. And Kevin, your brother received stolen money but may not have known it was stolen. We'll determine his liability based on the evidence and his cooperation with the investigation. That afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number that turned out to be a collect call from county jail. Sam, it's Dad. I need you to listen carefully. There's been a misunderstanding about the business account transfers. What kind of misunderstanding? Dad told the FBI he used my money for family expenses. He said I gave him access. I never did. He forged my signature and stole $340,000 from my business accounts. Why didn't you ask me first? I said, because you'd say no. You waste money on computers. I used it for real needs, Kevin's school, the mortgage. His words were recorded. Proof he knew it was theft. Tell the FBI I had permission, he begged. No, Dad. You stole from me. He called it family duty, not fraud. But the money also paid for Kevin's vacation. The trial lasted 4 months. The truth came out. Dad embezzled $340,000 in a year. Mom helped with manipulation. Kevin benefited without asking questions. They said I was bad with money while draining my accounts. In court, I explained how they dismissed my business as a hobby while stealing from me. The prosecutor asked how it felt. Like finding out my family saw me as their bank, not their daughter. Dad got 6 years in prison. Mom got 3. Kevin got probation. I recovered all $340,000 with penalties. Their house and assets were seized. The biggest win was freedom. For years I believed their lies about money and success. The investigation proved I wasn't naive. I was exploited. Later, Dad wrote from prison asking forgiveness, saying it was family love. I never replied. Family love doesn't include fraud. The business they mocked grew into a $2 million company helping others fight family financial abuse. Their lies collapsed. Their wealth vanished. My success thrived.